The year is 2015, and a game is released on Steam 2 years after gaining over $50,000 across over 2,000 Kickstarter backers. While on the surface it seems to be a cute, small indie RPG harking back to the days of classic RPGs that came before it, like Earthbound, what unsuspecting gamers back in the mid-2000s found instead was one of the most unique, creative, and beautiful games to come out in years. Instead of a simple story about a human trekking through a realm of monsters, what they instead got was a story about morality, mercy, violence, and how your choices could change a person, or even the world. A game that challenges the typical tropes of the RPGs of years past, and carves its own path. A game that started from the inspiration one man had from games of the past, and is now inspiring new generations of game developers and even just creators to this day. A game that changed the world. This is Undertale. Undertale came out in a big year for gaming. Heavy hitter franchises like FromSoft, Mario, Assassin's Creed, and Fallout were releasing highly anticipated games like Bloodborne and Mario Maker. In any other situation, a small indie game like Undertale would have just been swept under the radar. Maybe you'd hear about it for maybe a week, but people would have moved on to the next bigger and shinier title. But they didn't. Undertale stuck in the hearts and minds of its players long after the credits rolled, and captured the attention of the internet in a way only seen by bigger household names like Minecraft and Mario. For a game that had, for all intents and purposes, come out of nowhere, it suddenly became a cultural phenomena and had spread all across the internet like a virus. Everything from comic dubs to fan-made songs to fanfiction and alternate universes I'd rather not get into. It immediately cemented itself as a classic. Why though? What made this small indie game made by a handful of people so special that it was held in the same regard as games and studios that had been household names for years? Was it the classic sprite aesthetic? Was it the fun character design? Its endearing sense of humor? The difficulty of the boss battles? While those are definitely aspects of the game that people enjoy, I think they're smaller pieces in an overall larger explanation. I think I speak for everyone who's played Undertale when I say that the reason this game is so special is because, well, the game makes you feel. Don't believe me? I played this game maybe a year after it had come out, and I say with the utmost confidence that I can count on one hand the number of games that invoke the same level of emotion as Undertale had. And one of those games was another game that Toby Fox had made. Now, I don't want to present the idea that Undertale is better than other games just because it makes you feel emotion. Some games don't need to invoke those sorts of emotional reactions to be considered masterpieces, which is totally fine. But what makes Undertale special is the way it makes you feel. Undertale prides itself on its theme of choice, and the different outcomes those choices can have on the game or characters. This is immediately apparent when you first meet Flowey. You have the choice to either run away from his friendliness pellets or dodge them. This choice doesn't have much of an impact on the game in the future, but other choices you make will. From small things that only lead you to different dialogue exchanges to literally shaping how that run will end. The game offers you 3 routes you can take that all lead to different endings: neutral, pacifist, and genocide. These choices you make influence the very outcome of this game's universe, and you are either rewarded or punished for the decisions you make. If you play through a positive neutral run or a pacifist run, the game rewards you for your choices by giving you a happier ending. But if you pick a negative or genocide ending, well, you face the consequences. One thing that Undertale does that I really like is that it holds you accountable for your actions. Not the character you control, or the soul of Kara that manifests at the end of the genocide route. You, the player. I remember there was a period of time in the community where the genocide route was spun as if Kara was a little devil on your shoulder forcing you to kill everyone. But that narrative is missing the point entirely. The one-hitting attack on every enemy you come across was you. Zan says it himself during his monologue in the neutral route. The more you hurt, the easier you can bring yourself to hurt others. The more you force yourself to make that violent choice, the easier it becomes to continue making that choice. And the more you keep making that violent and destructive choice, well, the harder it's going to come back to bite you. Throughout Undertale, you're faced with choices, and each one of those choices can have an effect on the rest of the game. Some more than others, but they all impact it in some way. And all of those choices are followed by some kind of karma, good or bad. During the genocide route, you're basically shamed by every character you come across. Toriel's final lines are a heartbreaking memento for what the rest of the run's about to look like. This run frames you as the literal villain of the story. Later, you battle against the true hero of Undyne, and I don't think there's ever been a moment in gaming where there's ever been more of an incentive to root against your own player character. Even the music seems to be against you. The once cheerful and relaxing music of the game now slowed and demented, as if to mark the arrival of a specter of death. You mow down enemy after enemy, slaying characters you once considered friends, and in the end, what are you rewarded with? A boss fight so torturously hard it gets in your head and makes you reconsider why you're even doing all of this to begin with. Sans taunts you, mocks you for the amount of times you've died, and most importantly, tries to get you to stop. The point of this boss battle, one of the most iconic and memorable boss fights in recent gaming history, is not to beat you with brute force. Sans knows that won't be enough. It's to break your resolve, to get you to question if going through this run is worth it. He doesn't try to appeal to Frisk or Akira, he tries to appeal to you, the player, to appeal to your humanity. If it works, great! You get to go back to the beginning and start on a better path. If you don't, well... you and the entire world are met with a much worse fate. The genocide run is more than just the evil or bad ending route. It's a punishment for the player, a lesson to make them realize that choices do have consequences, and not even resetting the world can undo the choices that you have made. Now, if that was the only run that this game had to offer, the game itself would have been interpreted way differently, I think, as a more cynical and realistic take on a typical RPG. However, that isn't the only message that Undertale offers. The pacifist route of this game is possibly one of the most beautiful and emotional experiences I've ever had playing a video game. While the genocide route adds realism and enforces consequences and guilt onto the player for killing characters and forcing themselves to keep hurting, the pacifist route encourages the opposite. It reminds you that karma goes both ways. Instead of just mindlessly mowing down enemies like you do in other RPGs, you can choose to spare them, get to know the characters, and bond with them. It says so in the title. Undertale is an RPG where no one has to die. You hear them out, listen to their problems, and encourage them to change their ways. One thing that Toby Fox does with his characters that only improves this message I think he's trying to convey is that he treats these characters not like characters in the traditional sense, if that makes sense. He treats them like real people, with dreams, fears, insecurities, and desires just like anyone else. And it's you that inspires them to change into a better version of themselves. You befriend Papyrus and help him get over his insecurities and desires for companionship. You help Alphys face the sins of her past, as well as give her the courage to confess her love to Undyne. You help Asgore get over his grief and sins of his past. You're not just befriending these characters, you're saving them. Saving them from the underground, but also saving them from themselves. From their pasts, sure, but also from the futures they might have taken if you hadn't intervened. There are multiple instances in this game's lore that mention the prophecy of an angel, that the angel will come to the underground and either destroy the world or lead them to the surface. For a long time, people assumed that it was Azrael, given the angelic appearance and his boss fight, but in reality, the angel is you, the player. You have the power to either destroy this world or save it, to change it for the worst or best, and regardless of which one you choose, you end up changing yourself a little bit more as well. Alright, I think that's enough analysis for one day. I want to end this video on something a bit more personal. Toby Fox, if you're watching this, thank you. Thank you for creating such an incredible experience. For 10 amazing years, we've celebrated the amazing story that you've created. The story that inspired us, entertained us, influenced us, and changed us. You created a once-in-a-generation experience, a game that people will undoubtedly be talking about for another 10 years, and even farther beyond that. Just watching all of the videos and animations that people released on the 15th, so many labors of love made in appreciation of this silly little game was enough to bring me to tears. Very few times on the internet have I seen this much collaborative love shown for a game like this that wasn't made by a huge, big budget company. Despite the highs and lows that this community has gone through, I will forever be grateful for Toby Fox and the game that he's created, for changing my life through your unique vision, for inspiring my own creative endeavors, and creating an experience that I will never, ever forget. Despite the way the world has changed, despite the ways of the gaming industry changing for the worst, despite the fact that now we've all grown up, despite everything, it's still you, and we're still us. We'll keep coming back to this game until our end of days, talking about it, making art about it, animations, music, anything, to show our appreciation for the experience that you've given us. You've created a once-in-a-generation game, and if Deltarune keeps going in the direction that it's been going, you're about to outdo yourself again with another unforgettable experience. Thank you, Toby Fox, for everything, and thank you everyone for watching. Happy anniversary, Undertale.